people don't need hair dryers.
It was purple. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but he did kind of pretty much change everything, really. I mean, have you seen the the air thing?
The jet engine.
I just want one of those. I don't need one, but I want one.
Phenomenal.
I just want one.
He's bought it to go outside the factory, hasn't he? So that he can inspire his.
Huh? No. I mean the fan.
Oh, the fan. Oh, the fan's incredible. But
Yeah.
I think he didn't buy an original jet engine to go outside. I might be completely wrong.
Idea.
To inspire his.
Oh, right. So when they're working about how they make the motors, they have a really big one that you can go and look at and see how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. But isn't that how good design is? It's kind of built off
being inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. And surely that's how we are creative. We're inspired by.
So when was the last time you saw something, say like a visual, not like a Dyson hairdryer or something, but say like a movie poster or something that you went, shit, I love that, I'll take a picture of it? Because
I don't do that very often, but I will tend to kind of try and really take it in and visualise it and see if I can kind of replicate it. I tend to think if I take a picture, it tends to take some of the emotion away from me. Does that make sense? I kind of sit there. I don't know if you've seen the picture the other day that was it was on Facebook, and I think it was a load of people taking pictures of the wedding, and then there was just this old granny sat on the side of the fence just actually staring at it.
And watching the wedding. And
sometimes that's what I do when I'm away.
Absolutely.
Now, because I kind of think, do you know what, Saraya, actually just appreciate this.
Yeah.
For what it is. Do you know what? I actually think that was my phone dinging.
It doesn't matter.
Is that okay?
Do you want it back over here?
No. I just didn't want it to keep.
Just in case something has happened. Yeah.
No, nothing's going to happen in my life.
So yeah. So basically, I need to have at least some formal introduction.
Are we on?
To you, because we're on. We've been on for just a little while.
A whole minute.
So you're Saraya.
Saraya.
I'm never going to get that right.
All day!
No, all I'm going to get, the only way you're going to make me learn that is if you make me suffer as a consequence of getting it wrong. Just like a poke in the eye will work. Okay. So
I'll take your bit of blue tack off your screen.
Don't do that. I'll never know where I'm shooting. Saraya. There you go, I got it right. So Saraya. I met Saraya for the first time in Madeira on this photographic, photo training overseas thing where you were a lecturer, I was a lecturer, kind of speaker, not lecturer, and that's where I met you for the first time, and as I think
we've kept missing each other in a lot of different other places. I've heard of you, and I've never actually met you.
Yeah, I knew when you told me to fuck off, and I then knew that you knew of me because you couldn't have got to the point of knowing me that well while we were there to know that you didn't want me in your lecture.
Oh, okay.
That's not fair. So you had a better understanding of me that I hadn't.
Maybe.
So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I think you need to let people know what you do, and what you do.
Okay, how far back do you want me to go?
Well, let's start with now, because that's my job to go back.
Sure. At the moment, I'm currently back home. So that means I'm normally a portrait wedding photographer. Yeah. Predominantly kids. I specialise really in under 12, 13-year-olds. Do a few weddings. A couple of years ago I did way too many weddings, didn't really enjoy them. I much prefer the ease and the interaction with children because they're more, I just enjoy it a lot more. But then every now and again I will try and spend a good 3 or 4 months away, and that's where my passion really lies, and I'm trying to mix the two up with kind of good home life. And then when I've had enough of home life...
and you need a fix of the real world.
That's. Well, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the real world's at home and I just need to go off and live in some other land.
So you mentioned to me when we was away and talking, Nicaragua was one, Nepal is another you've been to. Where else have you been?
Tanzania, Vietnam, India.
And this was all with NGO, volunteer?
No, some of it's just literally travelling, and
some of it is just you on your own, just saying, I want to go and see Vietnam.
Yeah. The longer trips that I go on are NGO stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's Tanzania, Nepal and Nicaragua and Costa Rica were the 3 big ones that I've done.
And your next one of those is?
I don't know yet. I'm waiting to see if... I would like to go back and do a kind of retrospective and see if things have changed where I've come from, because they are supposed to be sustainable development projects, and I know a lot of these things at the moment get a bit of bad press. So it would be nice for me to kind of go back and actually prove that they do make a difference, you know, kind of 3, 4, 5 years on. And for me, I think it would be nice to see as well.
What would be your gut instinct to, if you, without going back to get proof, what would you say? Does it make a difference?
I hope it does. I really hope it does. I got a lot of negative input when I decided to go and do these things, because my friends were like, "Well, you're not really going to make a difference. You're just taking a load of rich kids and da 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 da." And I kind of had to fight it a bit to say, well, okay, if that's what happens, then basically I'll come back. I'm with a communications guy, and we'll tell the truth. Yeah. In actual fact, when we got out there, it was completely what I thought it was going to be, and it was extremely well run. There were half local youth workers paired with kind of European, American rich kids, if you like, who still have to fundraise. But the fact that they do it as a dual and they pair up, they both learn each other's cultures, languages, and the fact that they stay in homestays as well and they go into the communities was for me a lot stronger. And I saw the change in the kids as well. And for me, and in the communities, and the way they included the communities.
That sounds like a cultural exchange then.
It is as well.
But what's the remit for you to be there?
They come together. Yeah, they come together. They do they will do kind of, before they go into a community, they'll find out what the community needs. If it needs anything at all, it may well not. Yeah. And the community will say, thanks very much, but we don't actually need anything. Some communities will say, we went into one and they built they found out that a lot of the kids were going home for lunch and they're not coming back because it's 2.5 mile walk, 3 mile walk, can't be asked, to be honest. And then actually dad wants you to work in the field, mum needs you to look after the kids. You then don't end up going back. The school teacher decided that actually if we built them some form of kitchen and a kitchen garden so they could grow all the food, he thought that that would be a better way of keeping them in school, and the community actually got really well behind it. The community donated all of the things for the kitchen garden, all of the, they helped plant. We got local builders to build and help the volunteers. So it's very much they're included. It's not like we go in, build something and go, brilliant, thanks, and leave.
You help them build something.
Yeah. And they, and they get paid, and it's all part of everybody coming together. And it is, and they had a brilliant party at the end of it when they handed over the keys. It was fab. Loads of dancing, and to kind of see that as a celebration was, okay, we've not mentioned dancing with you. But it's to see that after, it's all very kind of small steps at the beginning when you first go into community, and by the end of it, these kids have been there 3 months. Right. They're part of their family now, and they don't want them to go. It's incredible. Yeah. But they'll do 6 or 7 projects around the country. So my job as the photographer with the writer is to go around and visit all different projects. So I'm not just based in one. I might be based in one for 2-3 weeks, which as a photographer is incredible. because you get to know these people and they're fine with you walking around with a camera and taking pictures of their kids.
And I guess that once you've been there for a few days, they're a lot more comfortable, so they're not so intimidated when you pick up the camera and point it at them.
No,
because if you were only there for 2 hours, you would get maybe a little bit of flinching and
well, a lot of the time they do see cameras and they'll kind of do the whole and
and you don't want that.
No, I don't want that. And
as you'll see in a minute when we show some of the pictures. But so is each one of these things that you've done similar? Do you do a similar role in each of them, or are they wildly different?
As in the job that I do, no, it stays the same.
Right.
It stays the same. And I think when I did Tanzania, I'd done a very different job to all of the other photographers that had gone before me.
In what respect?
In fact, the charity kind of turned around and said, we don't actually know what to do with your pictures. Because I'd kind of done what they'd wanted me to do. They'd need me to document. But I'd also got my stuff. So kind of more community-based stuff. I was kind of more telling the story about the country and the communities that they'd not really had before. So when I came back from Tanzania, excuse me, they were then at the time setting up another one in Nepal because it was just after the earthquake. And they then said, okay, we need a photographer we can rely on in this one because it's our first kind of one out there. And they said, would you mind doing it? I said, absolutely. Another great opportunity. I'd loved Tanzania. I didn't get to spend quite so much time in Nepal because I had other commitments at home, but I was there still for a good 3 months. But my job as a photographer is just to document what they're doing and, might have little interviews with the community members and things like that. It's just really fascinating.
Did you do video as well, or was it just still?
I did just do still, but now I would be very interested in starting to do some video. I've kind of got the kit now that I am very comfortable with that I can do. Sorry,
I'm making noises here. Just need to get a bit more. Oh, now I'm making loads of noises. Oh, I know why that is. Yes, that was the reason why it was a little bit lower.
Oh.
It's okay. No, it's not okay. There you go. There's always something.
Yeah.
There's always something.
What was I saying? Video.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I'd feel comfortable doing video now.
Right.
And I think it would add something. So it's something that I really will start experimenting with. I've started experimenting with it in my stuff here. So videoing, doing some kind of moving portraits and things with the kids that I do now. So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting there.
Just to let people know also that you are if I get this right, a Fuji film ambassador.
Yes.
Which means you really like Fuji cameras.
Yes.
Which has been a really big part of these podcasts, actually. Which in itself...
We didn't bring the camera,
no, we didn't.
actually.
I left it at home.
Damn.
Well, it was raining and...
Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
Well, you do know they're weatherproof, right?
Are they really?
They are.
Yeah, but you see, I think even just from that point of view, I mean, this is the 8th one of these, so it's only in its infancy, but in its infancy with all the different people that have been here, it's probably been mentioned the most out of all the other kit that's out there.
Oh, the Fuji?
Yeah.
That's
Fuji
nice to know.
has taken up a big number of minutes of the collective hours that we've done so far. It's come up in conversation. Canon hasn't.
I'm saying nothing.
So you're a big lover.
I love my Fuji. I've got two. So I've got the XT2 and the XT20, and I really did not look back. Really did not look back. I sold my Nikon gear pretty swiftish, and I'd only had my Nikon gear about a year, to be fair. But it just kept getting left behind, and in the end I thought there is really no point
What's the top reason for that? Because there'd be many little reasons maybe, or multiple reasons, but what would be the number one reason you would say that you changed for you?
For me, the Fuji feels nicer. feels a lot nicer. I mean, I'm little. I've got little hands, and the Fuji's just was much more design-wise ergonomic to fit me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I learnt on a very old Pentax K1000, my first camera, so your aperture was on the lens, and it just felt like it should have been there.
All along.
Exactly. It's like another part of my body.
Why did it move in the first place?
But no, and I did. I was fairly good at making comparisons between my Nikon stuff, because I was doing an awful lot of weddings then. And I didn't want the quality to go down. And when I looked at the raw files and made comparison, I couldn't see any. So there made no reason for me to keep this £5,500 camera when I was getting exactly the same. And it was lighter, and the lenses are fit in my bag, and it's nice and neat. That was the main changeover for me.
So in terms of the range of the Fuji, though, where the cameras you've got, where are they in the range from top to bottom?
X-T2 is middling, because they've now just come out with the GFX, which is that. Oh, and they've also got the, I think it's the H1, which is, I know, another one. But I think that's more video, and it's starting to go back up. They're starting to creep bigger again, which I like where I am. Right now, although I did hire the GFX when I went to Nepal last year.
Oh, you rented one?
Yeah, I hired one. I kind of, every now and again, I want to challenge myself, so I thought, okay, I can hire the GFX, and I gave myself the challenge of just shooting the whole of my trip with one prime lens. And then, you know, it kind of...
Which lens was that?
The 90mm fixed. Oh, was it the 90mm fixed? Yes, it was the 90mm fixed. And I loved it. I liked the discipline, because I kind of, you know, it's sometimes we do get a bit...
That's very similar for me.
Stuck.
I've got the Canon, and I've got the 85mm prime lens, and that's it. And I never take it off the camera back.
No. And it's a nice discipline to kind of get used to, because I do, especially with my travel stuff, I do kind of zoom in quite a lot, and actually for me it was quite a good test to see, especially because I do more portraits. It did mean that I had to get a little bit, you know, the distance became different, so I think it did make a different feel to the images that I brought back to what I would have normally brought back. So it was nice.
So have you ever done an exhibition of your work from these things, like a proper exhibition where you hire somewhere and put them up and stuff? No? Any idea of books or anything? Or?
No, I haven't. People have kind of said to me, you really should do this, and I haven't, purely because there's a little bit of me that kind of thinks I would do it if it went to the charity, but the thought of actually making money from it doesn't sit that well with me, and it's not what I got into it for, and I kind of did it as a personal project, and not only for the images, I did it as a, can I do this? Because I'd been a mum for 21 years. My daughter had decided to go to university, which was wonderful, and I then had some time, so that's when that kind of adventure started.
Can I do it?
Yeah, it really was, and I'd kind of been very happy at work. Relationships were all right, but you know, they again they needed a bit of a push, and I think Tanzania pretty much did that for me. It was kind of actually, have you just been kind of going through the motions for the last 4 or 5 years and not really knowing who you are anymore, both in terms of my photography and in me, really. And it was a wake-up call pretty much all round, which is great.
Well, when we met on PTO on the Madeira thing, the first reason why you stuck in my mind was you said typography.
Yeah.
I was a designer.
Oh, I didn't know if I quite make it to that.
Or,
but
you know, you said I think you said you studied design.
Yeah.
But you said I did. Was it a degree in
Typography and graphic communication, yeah.
See, I wonder even if that degree even exists. At the
It
moment.
does still exist,
Does it?
and
You
it
can
is
do
the only one in the country.
You can do a degree in type.
Oh no, do you know
Still.
what? It's actually not called typography and graphic communications anymore, because I did bump into somebody the other day from Reading University, which is where I did it. And it was a 4-year degree as well. It wasn't an easy degree. Yeah. But they said, oh yeah, no, they've changed that because nobody was going on it.
Exactly.
So they've changed it. Yeah, that is the point. Which is a shame.
So if you did you finish the degree? Did you
do
the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you came out, so you used into type and you liked
No,
design?
well, no, I had my daughter in my 3rd year, and as it was a 4-year course, I went back to finish my degree with her. They were absolutely brilliant because she used to come to my lectures with me.
So you've got child in arm and...
Generally off the bosom at this point. Which the boys were okay with, I have to say. They've been, And, but no, my tutors were absolutely wonderful. They did say to me, defer for a year and come back when she's older. And I said, do you know what? I just won't do it. I just won't do it. So they said, fine, bring her in. And by the end of the year, she was crawling around on the floor. And but then I decided to be a mum for 4 years.
So you didn't use the typography skills in a career in any way?
No. By the time I kind of decided that maybe it was time to go back to work when Rosie was 5, it just had changed completely, and all of my friends were actually turning around to me and saying, Saraya, it's not all it's cracked up to be, because it has changed. You know, the ones who've done very, very well in it have done very, very well in it, and some of them have completely given up design. So
what did you do then?
I went and did an A-level in photography with a load of 17-year-olds at St Albans College. I think I did it in a year during the day, and it was great. And then I was like, what am I going to do now? And so I started buying BJP and looking for assisting jobs, which is what we did then.
Right.
Got an assisting job down in a place called the Chocolate Factory in Ali Pali, and assisted 2 brilliant guys actually called Mike and Arthur, who taught me loads and loads about commercial photography and lighting. They used to light amazing stuff. And they would always get me in to assist when there was a load of kids. And they'd say, oh, sorry, you know, we've got a load of mother care and Crayola in today. Would you come and help out? So I'd be like, yeah, fine, that's good. So I was with them for 2 years. And then I decided I need to earn some money. So why did you choose photography then? I'd always loved it.
Oh, right. So
and it was part of my degree as well. There was always a chunk of photography in my. I think it was a whole year or a semester in photography.
So you had a bit of a passion for it at that point.
Yeah, and I'd already done a photography GCSE beforehand, so I'd kind of done darkroom and bits. And with my A-level, I did more darkroom. And then when I started assisting, we had darkroom still in there, kind of.
In those days of film.
Long days of film, and you know, we had a colour processing lab and things like that. So I kind of learnt an awful lot there. And then I got a proper job in a portrait studio, which was digital, and they'd moved over. It was all a little bit scary. In one go, you just went from analogue to digital in one day. Well, they in the commercial studio they were using both. Right. So they were still using film and using digital, but it was very high-end digital, so Mamiya with big Sinar backs. Oh, okay. Okay. So what was your immediate impression of the digital stuff? Oh, the stuff that Mike and Arthur were doing was amazing. The digital? Oh, it was incredible. But their files onto Phase 1 kits, I mean, that was then. That was back then. That was back then, were phenomenal. Computers back then would have really struggled to deal with those files. Well, we used to have those huge big Mac towers, and you could almost hear them crunching around. But then when I went to work for the portrait studio, I can't even remember. Oh no, actually we were on Hasselblads then with digital backs. Right. And again, Phase 1, kind of kicking him through, but it's got better. I remember at the very beginning there was a big kind of people holding off, but I think for what we were doing in both the commercial place and what they were doing was good enough for what the end result was.
So how long was it before you ended up being your own boss and you went your own way?
7 years.
Okay.
7 years. I kind of worked my way up, so I was senior photographer and I had 2 or 3 people underneath me and I was pretty much running the studio. I'd got as high up as I could do kind of qualification-wise, and then it was that, and I can feel it in myself when I'm not getting pushed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I need that. If my creativity starts kind of going down, I start. If I'm not being stimulated or kind of pushed in a certain way, then I have to change something. Yeah. Nobody else is going to do it for me. So right, okay. So I left that job, got my own studio, and that was the next challenge. And that kept me going for another 5 years. And then I needed another push. Perhaps I've got this 5-year cycle that just is going to keep coming up. But yeah, I'm only 1 year into my next 5 years, so that's fine.
And you've got long enough.
I'm okay, I'm okay.
Who knows what it will be in 4 years?
Who knows?
Because it's accelerating all the time.
Well, the video is definitely a thing that I was relatively stubborn a couple of years. Why do I really need to know that? But actually, I can see.
So the market, let's say, for your classic portraits, you've still got good business?
Not too bad. Yeah. Not too bad. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've moved. So I had a very.
So you're regrowing the business.
I'm regrowing the business. I had an extremely loyal and lovely fan base, if you want to call it that, in London. My studio is in Barnet, which is very affluent in North London. It's where my daughter went to school in kind of Barnet, Finchley. And I got really quite well known there for doing kind of portraits, and now I'm 200 miles up the road. It's either I'm travelling or they are travelling. I really did have
Do you get any of your clients actually make the effort to come to you?
I did.
Or
literally this Sunday, last Sunday gone, they came to me, which was lovely. And they spent the day with, you know, they spent the day. Yeah. They'd arranged to meet some friends, so it was kind of a double whammy, and it was great. And you know, it makes me feel really nice when that happens, because it's. Cool. And I've taken their kids since they were, you know, babies, and they're now 6 and 8.
Do you think the portrait industry has changed at all? The market, not industry, from the perspective of the client, has changed? Do you find that they have different demands on you, or they expect something different from you over your years of doing it?
I don't think they do with me.
Or they're still just looking for a picture
I'm fairly
of them
resolute with what I do. And they know my style. Even the change from the studio to my location stuff, my style hasn't really changed. And the way that I deal with the kids hasn't changed. I communicate all of the time, and that's why they like me. Because they do see the end result, but ultimately they've bought the way I communicate with their children and how I deal with them. And I'm very kind of slow, and I'm patient, and you know, we have a good time.
If you do a good job and they bond with you, then you see them on a regular basis, and that's just then self-fulfilling, isn't it?
Yeah,
really? Then
absolutely.
It'll make the next shots even better, because you've got a long-standing relationship.
Absolutely, and we try to do different locations and things like that, but it's
what is it you offer? I mean, like most people do, when I say has it changed, because obviously 15, 20 years ago the only thing would have been a print and a big frame, and things have changed now, have they?
They have for me. Because I mostly sell digital print packages. Right. But I print as well, so I have control over
yourself. You have a printer and you print it yourself.
Yeah. I have.
Which printer?
The Epson 3880. Okay. Which prints up to an A2. Yeah. And for me, getting the printer was that throwback to the darkroom. I like that comes out. Oh, okay, that's not quite right. Just do another reprint, and it's there. Yeah. It's not going off somewhere, and then I've got to wait 2 days for it to come back to realise there's a mistake on it. So it's instant for me. I like that instant come off. But
you're delivering digital most of the time now.
But they have to have a print of whatever digital they've ordered.
Oh, okay.
So they can't have just digital. They
can't walk away with just a USB stick.
No. It's got to be, and mine are all nicely mounted and
Sure.
boxed and all of that. But yeah, I think we are. I think as long as your price structure is at a level that you are still, you're going to still be making money, I don't see the problem in giving digital at all.
Do you ever have people ask for that though? They just go, oh, I only want the digital.
But then I will say that yeah, absolutely. I'll say that's where my value is. You need to understand that. The value for me is not in those prints, it's in that digital.
So you coerce them into agreeing that they have to have a print as well?
Well, they don't get the choice,
exactly.
unfortunately.
No.
That's
not
it.
Unfortunately, that's how it should be.
No, I do. I'm fairly resolute, and if people will try and argue, because you've already done the job. But that's why my initial shoot rate is relatively high. And to be honest, most of them will choose their shoot package before they've even had the shoot done, which is the way I like it, because they've generally used me before, which is nice.
So now you've kind of, after going through that career, now you find yourself speaking.
Yeah.
And lecturing.
I know, unbelievable.
What do you think about that?
I actually really enjoy it. I do really enjoy it. I love the travelling aspect of it. I love meeting new people. And I think when you do get to a certain level, you should be sharing your ideas. And I do also think it's nice to share ideas with people that are of a similar level to you. I think that really helps kind of lift not only me, but it helps when I'm then mentoring people that are coming up. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I do mentor people from complete beginners.
So it means if you're using the word mentor, so I associate that, even though I've never been a part of one, but I know how the organisations work. So you were part of professional organisations?
I have been for pretty much all of my photographic career.
Okay. Which ones?
All of them.
Just jump around.
See which one's best.
And then you're a mentor within that?
Yeah, and I also mentor via my own website as well.
Right, okay.
So I do, people will approach me just if they want, again, if they're complete amateurs and they just need helping out with their cameras and things, or if they just need a little bit of guidance. You know, some people feel a little bit lost in their creative way, and I will kind of try and help, because I think what a lot of photographers do nowadays, especially with the industry as it is, they will try and do a bit of everything. So I'll see people's portfolios, and there's a bit of commercial, there's a bit of portrait, there's a bit of wedding, there's a bit of this, there's a bit of that, and there's a bit of... And it all gets a little bit kind of, well, what are you actually trying to do here?
You see, this kind of taps into where my observations of it all comes in, and I obviously I'm on, like you, I'd be on the receiving end of many questions, and people saying, oh, I want to copy this style. Yeah. Where's the creativity in that?
Yeah, there is none.
But when you're growing in anything we do, we have to imitate to be able to gain the skills, so we can then use those skills to then find our own creativity. So I've often debated with people and also myself, can you teach creativity? Can you teach somebody to be creative? You can certainly teach, I can teach somebody to have the skills in software so they can do cool shit on images. But that doesn't make them creative as an individual. No. That just makes them a parrot. They're just copying. Okay?
But that's the tool. It's the same as the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's what they're doing with it.
Really understanding the camera doesn't make you a great photographer.
No, absolutely not.
So can you teach somebody can you teach creativity?
Oh, that's a really tough one. I'd like to say it's learnt, because my creativity and the way I observe things has certainly evolved in time. So yeah, surely you can, maybe not teach, but you can educate into.
Well, in all the things when I asked you about your past, that you were interested in design, you were interested in typography, and then when that didn't kind of work out for you and you didn't want to do that, then you did photography. And so they're all kind of creative endeavors, right? So even when you had no skills, because that's why you go to school to learn them, you were attracted to an outlet of a creative outlet. That means on the inside you have a creative fire burning, right?
I would think
that's why you would be looking for a creative outlet. And then when that one doesn't work, I'll try another creative outlet.
Oh, you don't want to get me doing music or anything like that.
So what I'm saying is that, and you said the word evolves, which is right, because our skills evolve. And you evolve from one area of creativity into another, until you found the one that fitted you. That fitted X, that this element of creativity that you have to have inside you, that is unpolished, unrefined, but it's just, I'm a creative person, I've got to find a creative outlet. My question is, because you can easily now, with the way the web is and how we can check out everybody else's work just by going to their websites or whatever. Whereas prior to the internet, how did you get influenced by other people? You had to make the effort to go
magazines
to magazines, but then that would be really, really narrow band and niche, and you'd have to go to exhibitions, you'd have to study, you'd have to actually get off your backside and go somewhere.
And let's face it,
to do that. Now you can, in a sense, be a graphic designer. You won't come up with maybe anything new as a graphic designer, but you can now just scan the internet and just come up with, you're not coming up with the ideas, just cherry pick ideas and go, yeah, that'll work, I'll stick those together. And then you're still a designer, but that doesn't make you a creative.
No, you're right. I did, a couple of years ago, I was redesigning my website, and a friend said to me, oh, have you heard of 99 Designs? This is going to be your idea of a nightmare. Have you heard about it?
I've heard it, but I'm still trying to work out what it was I heard about it.
Yeah, well, basically it's designers competing against each other for the job. So you give them the brief, effectively, pay them £99.
Who never thought that could possibly work?
But do you know what? That is the kind of society we live in now, where it is just... And these poor creatives are working for next to nothing. And
yeah, because you're doing your job for nothing in the hope you might get paid afterwards.
Well, you're putting
and then
a
you have to show it.
Yeah.
And then once you've shown it, you can go,
pick mine.
I can copy that.
Yeah.
I found that when I first started doing web design, I would in my naivety, I would say, yeah, that's going to be £5,000, or it's going to be £2,000, or whatever it was. Let's say £2,000 to design it and then artwork it. You know, do all the HTML.
Yeah.
And then as an idiot, what I used to do was, in my early days of having no business knowledge whatsoever, was I go, and you get paid at the end.
Oh, when you've done all the work.
Well, the work is the design. The artworking is still work, but that's not creative.
Yeah.
Not as creative as coming up with a design. Yeah. It's a different creative. More of a solution. You know, one of the biggest problems I had in LIFO was a designer, one of your lot, would come up with a concept of a design, and an artwork would turn up with an overlay, and someone's painted pink in here and red.
Well, that was my favourite job.
Yeah, that was great. But usually what would happen is they would design something which was either impossible or next to impossible to print. Because the creativity comes out of your mind from a, unrestricted. And then you'd put that on an artwork, and then you just colour it in and say, yeah, Mr. Litho Man, can you just make that blue and make this? And then I would
he's then thinking, oh my God, all these colours.
And I would be going, that's not possible. And then, so for me, I'm not creative in the sense that I can get a piece of paper and I can get a pen and I can paint or draw something or something. But I'm creative at finding solutions to problems.
Still creative.
That's what that's really creative, because the need is not necessarily somebody to go oh wow, isn't that a wonderful design? For me, it was I had to be creative to get that design on the printing press and make it work. So you're behind the scenes. You don't get any glory at all.
That's annoying.
No, I didn't care too much about that. But because I've been in and around the creative worlds and in all of them for such a long time, I didn't finish the story about the web thing. I'll finish that first because I'm not doing that again. This thing of waiting for the money at the end, the amount of times I designed a website and then halfway through me doing the HTML programming, they would just then cancel the job.
Why? Because they've already got the template?
I've already done the design, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've already done the design, so then they just go off and find anybody who can do it much, much cheaper than me, and then I don't get paid for anything. So that lasted for maybe 2 or 3 jobs until I thought, this can't be right.
Something's going on.
So then it was just really simple.
Yeah.
You pay me for design,
and
you pay me up front to do that. And then you pay me at the end of the artworking. But they're 2 separate things. And I don't care if I do the artworking.
Did you whack up the old...
I just like doing the design. I like doing the conceptualizing of the design. And I was much happier when I didn't have to do all the coding. Because I lent more towards the design side of websites and stuff. But I've had so many sometimes heated arguments with people about creativity. I don't think you can teach it. I think you can do what you say. You can evolve it and you can enhance it. But if you don't have it to begin with,
no, I will go with you on that. But I think you can.
That's only at the moment. I might feel differently tomorrow.
And I do think most people do inherently have a bit in them.
Yeah. But they've got to find the right outlet for it.
Yeah. A lot of people that come on my photography courses will say, oh, can you tell me about composition? And we go out and shoot, and then we kind of look at their images at the end when I've kind of given them the very basics, you know, thirds and yada yada. They generally know it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because their mind is the amount of images we look at day in, day out. It's kind of inherent in there anyway, I think.
It creates insecurity just because you're trying to find out where you are in the great scheme of things. And as we've got access to the great scheme of things at any point in the day, and just check out the amount of times I go to teach somebody and they go, so what am I doing for you? And they take me to somebody else's website and they say, make me like him.
Go and learn of him.
Can you just show me how to do that? And it's like, look, it's really simple. You just press a few auto buttons and then buy someone's you know, style or whatever it is that has been made. I'd rather teach you so you can build it yourself.
Yeah. But people want the easy option.
I just want to get to there.
Yeah.
We're just going to buy the same plugins.
No,
and that's fine. It's cool.
But then your stuff will look carbon copy.
Well, it's formulaic.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
No,
so tell me about this then, okay? Because I'm going to pick on you here because I've got you here. and the other thing I've got to tell people is you're not only the first woman, but you're the first international guest. Because at least, although we're both English, I'm actually in Utrecht right now, and you've flown here this morning to do this.
I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So now I've forgotten the bloody question. What was the question I was going to ask you? Come on. This is not right.
Well, you said, now I've got you here.
Yeah. I did this last time. I did this
last time. Did you need me to help you out?
No, I've got you here. Oh, that's it. Style.
Yeah.
You've said it already a number of times here, and you go, my style. Tell me what that actually is.
Oh, that develops. I look at my work 10 years ago. It's the things the way I like my work to look, and that will change year in, year out. But it is a way that I shoot, and in the way that I process my work afterwards, that lends the look to my work. And I look at my work that I did 10, 12 years ago, and I think, oh my good God, what was I doing? And it's nice actually to see, because I'd got a fellowship by then, and I look back at that and think, how on earth?
Yeah, well, because that was the norm at the time. Yeah, that was the level at the time.
Oh, it shouldn't have been. But yeah, I look at my work now, and I'm sure I will do exactly the same thing in another 12 years if I'm still a photographer which I hope I am, that I will look back and go, oh God, that was processed really badly. Should have listened to Guy a bit better. But you know, it's for me, it's constantly learning, constantly evolving, but I will always try, if I'm doing something, to keep it consistent in my work, so that it's not looking completely different all of the time. Because I think then people start, my creativity and my my kind of confidence in my creativity, I think, would drop them. If I'm not too sure where my style is, then I will start thinking, okay, I'm not really sure where I'm going. And sometimes that can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm relatively, as I've already told you with my OCD, I'm quite controlled. And that's pretty much throughout my life.
See, we need to work on you, actually, because you just did what a lot of people with OCD do. You do it as if it's like there's something wrong. There's something wrong.
What? Some people do think there is something wrong with me.
OCD is the meaning of life.
He says with his 4. Well, I don't know if this is quite it's a thing of beauty to me, Guy.
You know what I've just realised? The gap in between here and here and here is nearly exactly the same.
And the arc.
The arc is each machine which has multiple things. The gap between. I'll tell you a little story. Well, I did this thing used to be called. I don't even know if it's still in running. A massive print show every 4 years. IPEX. Oh no, every 2 years, but it was every 4 years in the UK, and then it'd be in Germany, then it'd be in the UK. And I remember working for Apple on their stand, and for the very first time, because I'd done many years with many suppliers, namely mostly Adobe, and they were just a little bit laid back about how the stand would look. And Apple just under OCD in the dictionary, you should just say Apple, right? I mean, they control every single part of everything. And it was the first time ever, the people who put the stands together, the guy had a tape measure.
Brilliant.
He measured, just like in a 5-star restaurant, when they measure how far away the fork is and stuff. You know, Michelin star restaurant or something, when you get everything has to be absolutely right. I love that. This guy, the keyboards had to be exactly the same distance away from them from each machine, and would measure them, and then the distance away, and he would get it just right. So I would follow him and just do this. See, look, I've moved it, and now I have to move it back. Cruel. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. But I think it should be celebrated.
No, I do too, because to me it's it is a real thing for me with my imagery. When I come to edit, I notice absolutely everything.
When I was doing that thing, the image just before was for Brett, and you said those hairs. I went, what hairs? I didn't even see them.
They were coming out the bottom of my chin.
There's 2 little hairs looking like they come out of the chin. We've got a question which I'm going to get us to. Oh God. Do I? Oh yeah.
Oh no, what have you done? Paused it.
I'm just going to have to rearrange the room just a little bit, because I didn't make that big enough. Because you said, can you see that from there? No. Yeah, but only when it's bigger. So I'll be back in just a moment. There you go. No worries. Now, okay, I think you can learn creativity to a certain level. This is Ian Bursill. Ian's a member of the website. And,
hi Ian.
I would say senior member of the website.
What, are you calling him old?
No, senior in the sense that he's been around for a long time on the website, and kind of knows his stuff a lot. I think you can learn creativity to a certain level, but there are levels beyond that.
I would agree with that.
Some kind of God-given talent. Yeah. See, I just think that when I was growing up and there wasn't the internet, that time.
Would you spend it down the library?
Me reading. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I didn't read. I used to literally look in books.
I just think that time. See, I didn't go to further education at 16. I was at work, and I learnt what I did doing it at work. But was never referencing. I never referenced myself to what anybody else ever did. I was only referencing myself within the environment I was working in. And I think when you now, especially when you're learning something, because by definition it means you don't know what you're doing yet, because you're learning what you're doing, so you're going to have a degree of insecurity. So instead of study, just study. Do that same thing
again and again
and over and over, and find your own path.
Yeah.
It's so much easier today when you don't know something, and especially when it comes to visual creative things.
I think we think it's easier.
No, because what I'm saying is that to find that place where you're trying to alleviate the insecurity because you're learning, and you just want to get to a point of security. You want to know you can tread water and you can maybe earn a living from it or something.
Yeah.
It's so much easier now to reference yourself against other people anywhere around the world. I mean, look within the Adobe Creative Cloud. They've got this. Yeah. Put your work up there and get it judged by everybody else.
Oh, God, isn't that horrendous?
Well, no, I don't think... yeah, it's shit. But it's because I don't think that inspires people to be creative from within.
Helps.
Because it just makes them go, oh my God, that person's better than me. And then what is your next job going to be like?
Well, our whole thing about, we were having the discussion about the royal wedding photos today, because I was saying it's exactly the same thing. And I went on photography forums yesterday where they were getting absolutely slated. And one of the first things I think I ever learnt from Mike and Arthur, they said to me, don't ever criticise another photographer. And I was like, well, why? If his work's shit, of course I'm going to. They were saying, A, you don't know what pressures he's under, B, you don't know how... No, you've got no clue how this person has been working. And from that point on, don't get me wrong, when I judge, clearly I have to kind of point out things, but I will never criticise the actual photographer, because I've got no clue exactly what context, any information about that. And it was one of the most important lessons I learned from those two. Fabulous lighting, great with customers. But I remember Arthur saying to me, Saraya, don't ever judge another photographer. Because you just...
I haven't seen any of the pictures because I couldn't have any less interest in anything that has ever happened in the history of humanity.
God, where have you been?
Well, for a whole bunch of reasons, all I know is I look at the groom, and I look at where he's supposedly come from, and I just ask myself, is it really a royal wedding? Because I'm not too sure it is. I'm not too sure it is.
Okay.
Everybody's seen the pictures.
That aside,
and I just, even though that doesn't cause, that isn't the factor, but I just think you need to prove it to me first. For me to get excited about that, I'd need to see the proof.
Okay. Images
from my point of view. But the thing is, I think what is the most stressful job you can do as a photographer? Weddings, right? I don't know. I've never shot a wedding.
Oh no, I actually think weddings, if you go into them, I shot probably not alone. I was only second shooter, but I shot probably 46 or something the year before.
Yeah.
If you go into them with a level head, you've got everything covered. There is really nothing to be worried about.
No, I don't mean worried, but the pressure you've got, because that event is only going to happen in that moment.
This is true, but
how much of the whole day of a wedding are you actually artistically in control of? It's only a small percentage of those shots where you go off to a nice place and you go throw the veil and all that, or whatever you do. But the actual shooting of the wedding, the pressure of that. I'm not saying how you react to it is one thing, but that's because you can't just go, oops, the battery's gone.
Oh dear!
Can you just rewind and go up the steps again and do it again? Because
you've got to be on it.
You've got to be slagging somebody off for just getting a small clip of an ankle off frame or something,
and a hand off. I just think is ridiculous. And as a industry, I don't think we support each other enough with things like that. I think when you were saying earlier, God, we've all taken shit images, you know. There's points where I come back from a shoot and go, oh, good God, what was I thinking? Please don't let that bit go out. But you know, we all have off days, and I'm not saying he's had an off day, but it's just, you know, we've all. sometimes in the photographic industry, we're not that supportive of each other. You know, there's not that kind of...
Do you think that's changed
lift each other up?
The accessibility to each other's work?
What, made it worse or better?
Well, it's just made it easier to be critical. Because you don't... critique today, I mean, you know, it's a subject that's close to me at the moment. The way I judge things with like this, the keyboard warrior thing, okay, is like as long as you say something to me via a keyboard that you have the balls to say to my face, then I don't care what you say, because that's fair enough.
Okay.
But when I look at not necessarily what, well, to some degree, what is levelled at me at times. As long as I get a really good sense that you would be big enough to be able to say that to my face, then it absolutely is fine. But it's when you see the level of venom that is levelled at people, which you know they would not have any courage to say that to a human being's face. But they will.
They probably haven't been out for about
room,
3 weeks, and yeah. Send. No, I agree. And I think with photography, it's very easy to do that, because we put our images out all of the time, especially on Facebook and Instagram, and it's easy for people to kind of, you know, how quick is it to really dent somebody's confidence in a shot?
How do you turn creativity into a competition when
it should be their own thing?
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely.
It's just like one person is attractive to one person and they're not attractive to another. I mean, and you take a picture. I think
the trouble is it's a lot of it is because to do with the professional bodies have put together rules and regulations as to why people can get qualifications and
which is I can understand.
And do you know what I mean? Oh, and if the cuff's out on a wedding image, now that's a fellowship, and if this button's undone, and it's things like that. So people will read in.
The photographer's not in control of the cuff, right?
Well, apparently he should be, but this is the whole point. So because the photographers know all of these rules, because they get critiqued on their work, they then think it's okay to then go to a photographer, well, you shouldn't have done that, the hand's cut off.
But
that is not creativity, it's almost like a rule book.
These regulations are self-appointed.
Yeah. Well...
They're not appointed by a governing body that represents the customers, right? No. It's a self-appointed bunch of opinions from a bunch of people
that have looked at images and go, okay, we need, when we're posing people, to have a triangular, you know, format of people, because that's aesthetically more pleasing than if they're... And there are certain things that are right. You will look at an image and go, right, this one looks better than this one because of this. However, it does take a lot of the creativity away from it.
Of course it does.
And that is also where it allows people to come in who don't have that much knowledge to come in and be able to criticise, because those rules and regulations are there. Yeah, so unfortunately, it kind of then pulls everything back.
Because I just don't think I don't think you can, you know, just like a picture, you know.
Yeah.
It's like.
But is it not also the same that people then are rather than looking for emotions and actual energy in an image, will just get everybody stood there.
Yeah, but the client should, as an individual, as a photographer, why do you need the endorsement of people that aren't your client? I mean, like when anybody goes to work, the only person they have to appease is the person who's employing them, right?
You know, us creatives need constant gratification.
No, you're right, but photographers do.
Seem to be worse.
Because I've worked in nearly every graphic art thing, and only photographers need that.
I've got this award, I've got this award.
Above. I've never seen it anywhere else. You do get design awards, but they're not design at the bottom end of the wedge. That's like more industrial or corporate. It's really, but you don't get your wedding photographer down the road putting images in and I don't understand making a competition over creativity. The only person you've got to appease is your customer. That's it, boom, for me.
Yeah.
And if you put rules around creativity, then you are defying creativity, because creativity needs you need to fuck up, basically.
Yeah.
So you can go, whoa, look at that mistake. Oh yeah, but look at that. That isn't actually really what I wanted to do this time. But I'm going to remember that for another time, because that is actually desirable. Not right now, it's not, it's a fuck up, but...
Which is what I normally say to people when I'm training them, never delete anything off the back of your camera, because sometimes your mistakes, although they don't look quite right, when you get home and you load them onto a big screen, they might look crap on the back of your camera. As soon as you get those home, might be something there that you've just thought, my God. So...
There's a really good point here. You should read. Can you read that?
Yeah, they should have chosen
a wedding photographer instead of a fashion photographer.
Wedding photographers are a certain breed. I'll go with that.
But I don't know, because I didn't see it. But is that right?
They did choose a fashion photographer, but apparently it was a nod to his mum. That's what I read in the papers, because the guy trained under Mario Testino. So, as far as I know, that was why they kind of...
At the end of the day...
They chose him.
Isn't the only people that have to like those images are the people getting married?
Yeah. And you know what? The rest of the general public seem to absolutely love them. It is just a bunch of bitter and twisted old photographers, sorry, who seem to really want it out for this poor guy. And
now,
I kind of just
after
think,
this, I'm going to go and find who he is, and I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out about it. I've actually found it quite disturbing yesterday, and I kind of went and sat in my office, and my stepson Tom came upstairs and said, "Saraya, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm trawling through all of these things," and it was just, he was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He was literally getting slated, and I found it really uncomfortable, because if it was me who had taken those photographs, okay, clearly there are certain mistakes in them. But I would have, wanted my mates to have gone, "Well done, you got the best blooming gig in the world right now. Come on, let's support this guy." Clearly doesn't need it. It's probably got 2 billion Instagram followers or something. But it's just, we seem to want to knock people when they're up, to kind of bring them down a peg or two. Oh, you think you're good, but you're not quite that good. That is the way of it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had it done to me in the past.
Help you get
before.
up there and really help you get down again.
Yeah. Which I kind of think leaves a bad taste.
So I want to bring this back now to images. Okay.
Cool.
I don't know why you called it Guy.
Oh, because I normally have to send images to loads of different people, and that was the easy one to send.
So this is the first one?
This is probably one of the first shots I took in...
See, people can see that, okay?
Yes, yeah.
Before we do this, actually, I am going to ask Ian a question. What's your take on it, Ian? This wedding, the royal wedding critique.
I think
Just what's your take on the critique? Is it justified or unjustified? I'd be interested.
I think he's right with the wedding photographers are a certain breed.
Is he being lambasted by wedding photographers? See, he can't do as good a job as we do.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, they haven't chosen a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
They weren't after the kind of classical wedding portraits. Great for them. They were after something a little bit different. Yeah. I've got them. I bought the Sun and the Times with me today because I got them free off the aeroplane, and they're both front page. Front page, yeah, you can have a look.
And how those images are used?
Yeah.
Are they fitting? Are they good?
They're lovely, nicely lit, and I think
but nicely lit. He didn't like them, did he? For a wedding,
they look like they're fairly natural side.
Yeah. But you see, we're going to have to pause this. I told you we're going to be here for 6 hours.
Oh, good God!
So when you say it's nicely lit,
you still have to place the person in the nice area. Yes, absolutely.
When you're a wedding photographer,
yeah.
On every shot or just a portion of them?
Yeah, no, on every shot. If you shoot with natural light and on location, you still have to shoot I know you're going to...
You can't do that, because if you're in a... If okay...
You choose the best option you can.
No, but if you... yeah, I get loads of images sent to me a lot.
Yeah.
And they're all natural light,
yeah.
you know, wedding shots, okay? There's a lot of wedding photographers on the website. And they send me the more problematic stuff, and they send me a big range of images so I can run them through the process and make sure it does a good job.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at various images, and let's just say there's a room. The photographer can't rearrange the furniture. There's a great big window here.
Yeah.
And then the registrar, or however they've done it in the signing, in some pictures, the couple are facing the window. Lovely.
Yeah.
Nice. And then in some, they've arranged the room so when they do the signing, they've got a great big window with sunlight coming through them, and they're backlit. So then you can't control that.
You whack a flash on.
No. You can't control the light. You can react to the light by then doing something else, but you can't change what it is.
No, but
in that.
Yes.
So you're not in control. The only ones I see where I think you have total control is, that's what I said in the beginning with weddings. When the wedding is taking place, you are just documenting what is happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're in control of nothing.
No.
You're the person that has to change based on the light around them, because they're fixed. But then when you've got those ones where...
When you take them outside.
Then you take them outside and you've got to get the formal shots, or you're going to do the ones with them. Then you're going to walk around the grounds, you're going to find... You're in control of that to some degree.
Yeah.
But when the actual thing is happening, you're not in control of anything.
No, you haven't.
You know what I mean?
You get as good as you can.
So I can't imagine how I could have any more respect for anybody that has the ability to work in that, where that event is happening just once.
But the wedding photographs that they've released are posed. So they're not of them.
Right. They're not of them in the wedding and stuff. These are
they
all...
are very...
And that would have had probably extra lights.
Yeah.
The room would have been set up in advance.
Yeah.
They know where they've done the lighting.
I mean, the poor guys had to set up something like 10 kids, do you know?
Yeah.
And they've all got to be looking at the camera, and
yeah.
I think he's done an impressive job.
Let's see what Ian said about that. I've seen lots of comments on Facebook groups slating the pics. I've not commented. I 100% with you, Guy. That the only opinion that matters is the one of the married couple.
Yeah, agreed.
Stop entering awards as well now. Exactly. I just think that when you put a rosette at the end of, oh yeah, that's the most creative thing, you're creating standardization, and that defies creativity.
What we said earlier when you were showing me, sorry, your friend's name, lady who does really interesting work.
Oh, Pip.
Yes. And she got gold awards from doing something, and then the year after, and I see a load of people
are just going to
replicating exactly, which is what the awards, unfortunately, people...
nothing creative in it.
No, and unfortunately awards systems do seem to hotbed that kind of thing, and you'll just get a rolling load of people producing the exact same work, which is a shame.
That's not creative, is
and
it?
as judges, it's a real shame, because you just see the same shit coming up, and you just kind of think, God, why doesn't somebody...
And also, be fair,
think a little bit out of the box?
I was a judge, and I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience.
Oh, what, at PTO?
No,
at
at the MPA once. I was invited to be a judge, and I stood there, and I just didn't even know if I was on planet Earth.
No.
Because there was all these people with a keypad, and they had to make up their mind 3 seconds.
Yeah.
In 3 seconds. The first pass is you've got so many to go through. Yeah. So you can really make an informed critique decision when you look at an image in 3 seconds, and you can go, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's easier now than it used to be.
All I could see was the inconsistency. What would be lambasted on one image would be heavily criticised on another image. The same thing comes through 5 minutes later. Oh no, that's through. And I would go,
that's generally because so-and-so knows whose image it was.
Up, and they would be virtually identical. And I'd go, how is this one crap and how is this one good? I don't care what they are, but surely they should both be the same. Yeah. There should be consistency.
Unfortunately, the politics and...
Because that's human nature, politics.
Well,
and favouring.
Then that's why people don't enter awards anymore, because they get sick of things like that.
I've got another question, because Ian has said, I stopped entering awards. So stopping entering awards means you don't get prizes. You don't get to say I'm an award-winning photographer. Has that? Do you think that really affects your business?
No.
If you are,
at
or
the
if
time
you're not?
when I was entering awards, I thought it was the most important thing in the whole
For your business,
world.
so you can say I'm
Yes.
an award-winning photographer.
Yeah. Now I know my clients don't care.
No.
They
So-
really don't care.
Yeah, I'll spare you that question because that would be really unfair to ask you that one.
So why did I do it in the first
No,
place?
no. Okay, fuck it, I'll ask you then.
Go for it. I'm
If
feeling
somebody
brave.
comes in and they want you to mentor them, are you a part of a
Yeah.
professional group at the moment? You are.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter which one.
As I say, I've been a member of
if
all
I
of them in
came
the
to
past.
you as an independent and asked you to mentor me, would you advise me to enter that rat race of award chasing, or would you advise me to just harness my own creativity
I do.
within myself?
So the monthly things and gold awards and yearly competitions, I think do tend to encourage that lack of creativity, because it's that big kind of prize at the end, and they do tend to follow a not a routine, what's the word I'm looking for? They do tend to follow a formula.
Yeah.
They'll see that this formula works, right, okay, I'll put a big texture over it, I'll make this, I'll do that, and it tends to go that way. However, with the qualifications, I try and encourage people to then, that's when I will try and encourage people to try and find their own styles. And it's quite a lot, they can't see it initially.
Of course,
In themselves, because that's where they're coming to me effectively, and they'll say, "Sir, I don't really know where to go," and we'll generally do it as a collaborative kind of thing together. You know, what do you enjoy shooting? 'Cause there's no point in you've sent me a load of pictures of flowers and you hate doing still lifes, you know, or you really love doing that, but you've also sent me a load of pictures of kids. Which out of these two do you prefer? They do it though. They try and give me everything. And so I try and kind of guide them. I'll never tell them what's right or wrong, but I'll say, you know, ultimately, what do you enjoy doing?
So
what do you want to make your money out of? What do you want to do this?
Who were you influenced by then when you decided, right, I'm going to go into photography? Were you influenced by other photographers in the way they shot, in their style or anything? Or?
I always really liked, when I was kind of doing my studying, I really liked kind of Bill Brandt and all the old black and white and Man Ray and kind of all the fine art stuff. So, but I think that's pretty much come from my graphics background, because I always loved, and I liked the stories in Bill Brandt's work. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his. He used to kind of set everything up but make it look like it wasn't set up. So he did a lot of stuff that way, and I kind of like the stories behind that. So I wouldn't say they influenced me, but to be fair, everything influences me. I just like looking at images. I love shapes, textures, colours, anything that kind of feeds the way I will still look at a sheet like a designer and think, how have I got to fill it? Because that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
And I will still envisage my photograph to be like that and try and fill it. So, yeah, that's how I kind of develop my creativity, and it kind of...
So you think the you doing the graphic design thing first actually
gave
you
100% helped
look
me.
on it?
Yeah. Well, a lot of graphic design is two-dimensional, and I think when I look at a lot of my work, sometimes it can look a bit two-dimensional. Probably that's a relatively decent example, actually, because when you look at it, you're not quite sure how far away or... And I love the squares, and the colours do it for me. And that was probably one of the first images I took in Tanzania that was completely different to anything else.
Did you control that shot?
No, not in the slightest. In fact, I got shouted at because her mum, after I took that shot, the mum opened the door to let her in and saw me taking the picture.
Oh, see, yeah, you just created the context there, because I thought she was walking across those.
No.
She's not. She's standing still.
She'd
So
literally just knocked on the door.
So you've micro-adjusted yourself.
Yeah,
to frame
and I've
her
kind of
exactly
gone,
in the middle.
okay, now I need to move.
Exactly. Okay.
Click.
Okay.
But I got told off for shooting
For
that.
taking the picture.
Yeah, because I think she was about 14, 15.
Yeah, but it's her back. There's
It's I had only just turned up in this community and they were very wary of me.
They were still wary.
Yeah,
in the
2
beginning.
days in, they didn't care,
Yeah.
and I think I probably took even more images of this lady, but it kind of started my style of Africa. And I think every time I've gone to a different country, that country has ended up with its own style. So the collection of images at the end has almost been like, you know, an artist has gone to a different country, you know, like Gauguin went to paint in a certain country and everything kind of had that feel. In my mind, I look at my images and all my Tanzania images have that same feel because I've edited them in a certain way. And all of my Nepal images kind of look different to me because they're slightly, you know, they were a year apart. Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yeah, yeah, move on. Oh,
Love that.
I love that.
Love that. And where is this?
Again,
Same place?
Tanzania. No,
Tanzania?
that was
Okay.
Mbeya. But God, just the kids. And it's, when I do trips like this, it's the warmth of the kids, and pretty much now I shoot I shoot mostly kids at home. I get
Total freedom though, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
not inhibited at all.
Oh God! I mean, these kids run free. They are proper feral. They don't come home for days, which is lovely actually. But their communities are so tight that
they're safe to do that.
they know where everybody is. It's you know, these kids. I can't really remember their names, but they were off. They were always together, thick as thieves, and they'd be off doing something, and they'd stop every now and again and pose in front of my camera, and then they'd be off again. But that was the nice thing about living in the communities for the time I did, because they really did get so used to me that they weren't bothered. There was no posing. It was just proper. Oh, it's Saraya again.
The one on the right, all I can think that's going on in his head is, look at my teeth!
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
going to show you my teeth.
God, they're enormous, aren't they, bless him?
Yeah. I would buy this one.
And this is the light thing for me. When you see the light behind that big backlit, it's just... And I was stood in there actually helping tidy something up, because they just run a community day in that building, and she was just watching what was going on, and it was just that pick up the camera, click.
The skill for me is you needed to have the presence of mind to notice that.
Yeah, you
were in control of nothing there.
No,
because she chose to stand there. The light happened to be coming in at that angle at that time of day, but you could have just not noticed it or looked up, like I've done many times. The amount of times I've done this myself, because I'm no photographer, but I've had the camera, I see something, I go, I can't be bothered.
No!
So that's the definition. I'm not a photographer, right? So,
no.
But because that is,
I did take about 3 or 4 of her, and that was just for me when her expression had just hit. Beautiful. Kind of. In fact, I think that was the first one I took, and quite often that is the right one.
Is that because then they're kind of faking it a little bit, or kind of maybe forcing the issue
a
little bit?
Quite a lot of the time I'll get this, because they do want to kind of get eye contact with me. So they'll kind of, you know, there's a few peepo moments and things like that. But yeah, then it becomes a real big smile, because I'll probably say, oh, thanks, let me take your picture. You know, because I do think it's important to acknowledge that I have done that.
But they don't speak English, right? So there is a language barrier.
I generally have a translator with me.
You had one with you there? So you could speak to her through
probably,
that person?
yeah.
Okay.
We normally are fairly split. So and a lot of the older Tanzanians are amazing at speaking English.
Right. because that's how I judge everything. Like all the paintings I've ever bought, art, and anything I've ever bought, the sculptures, you know, those sculptures.
Yeah.
You know, that's that huge piece of bog oak that I have.
It sounds horrendous.
It's petrified
bog oak.
prehistoric wood, you know, that's dug out of the ground, so it's like
looks
rock,
amazing.
You know, and, it was amazing, and the story as well. The story of this was this artist who's when I met him, he was battling cancer at the time, and he was a real. I mean, that to me is creativity. He goes walking down the beach, and then people would bring him lumps of wood, and he would pick up the wood, and then he would look at it,
visualize what he could make out of it,
and then he would just turn it into something, and then sell it.
Wow.
And I bought probably in the end, I must have bought about 8 pieces from him, of which I've only got 2, the real big ones, because they were thousands of euros. I mean,
they look as if they're thousands of euros.
But the story, the reason I bought that piece before I even knew how much it was, because it was a great big window and it was right in the front, and it was the first time when I had moved to Ireland, 10 years ago now, and I was walking across this craft village, and I just saw that statue, and I just went, I hope that's not expensive, because I had already decided to buy it, and it was for a piece of wood. You could call it a piece of wood.
It's like somebody saying a photograph's a piece of paper.
Well, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. It's a piece of wood, and it was a lot of money, and so I did a deal with him. I said, look, I'm definitely going to buy it, but I'm going to buy it over a period of time, and I went in every month and paid a bit and paid a bit. And it took me about 6 months to actually get it in my house. But yeah, to me, it's just an involuntary act for me. It's like anything. It's like film, song, anything that's creative. It's like I don't stop. I don't care who took the shot. You know what I mean?
No.
When I see a film, I don't care who's the director.
As long as it's good.
I don't care who was the lighting man. I just care about my experience with it. And if I saw that in a frame, you could I mean that as a square in a frame. Even though I've got no connection to that, I would buy it.
No, I've had people. Actually, I don't know if I've put her in. There was in this particular village. There was another little girl called, oh goodness me, what was she called? Vivian, and I remember her. I think she might have actually been this lady's sister because her mum offered her to me to take home.
I've got loads of them. Do you want one?
Okay. Yeah.
Can you take this one away? What?
Yeah. Can you? Because she was writing in a book, and I was sat there. One of my friends was getting her hair braided, and you said that one of the ladies had her hair braided in this, and it's a whole day thing. I mean, you sit there and it's. And so I was there playing with the child, and we were writing in her school book, and at the end of the day, she just said, "Please take her home with you." I was like, I can't do that. She's your child, but they see our world as something so better than theirs, and I kind of almost wanted to say to her, actually, it really
you telling me that story
isn't.
Okay, the context changed slightly, because it wasn't, look, I've got lots of them, please take this one, because it's a pain to have so many. It was give her a better life.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, she did. It was very much, she saw me as a get out for this girl, and I was like, you think that would be the case, but actually in reality you would probably send her back. Yeah. She's going to have a much nicer childhood there.
I love this.
Yeah. Oh, he's so deadpan. So fed up.
Well, I think that's the thing of a good image, isn't it? Really, you can see so much in it. Like I could, every time I blink, I could read something different into this.
I like that because I know that was the big sister on the left-hand side. That to me is the care, because she stood over him and checking that he doesn't run off.
Oh right.
And that's why he's looking fed up, because his sister kept telling him.
He seems really within himself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
A lot of the African
really
children are like that.
Within himself.
Yeah.
Look at the pose. Look, I'm no well, no, I do know a bit about body language, but that is a really relaxed individual. The way he's sitting there. And
he couldn't have given two shits whether I took his picture or not. No, that was a fab village.
So okay, just because obviously what I do for a living.
Yeah.
What does the original raw file look like?
Not far off that, actually. I think I cropped, annoyingly, again, we're going to talking cropping hands and feet here. I've made every single rule book break
Why did you break? What did you break?
Well, as photographers will say, you should never crop feet, never crop hands, and I've done exactly all of that. Who's wrong.
The focal point in this picture?
Oh, the boy. And do you know what? It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. But this is what I'm saying. It probably is pretty much as I took it. Otherwise,
okay, plain devil's advocate here. I'm just asking questions because I'm not a part of your world in that way. So if you would never have chosen to do what you've done on that image.
Oh no, I would have done it exactly the same.
If you were going to put that in for a fellowship, because you know you've broken a rule, so you know you're
it did actually get a fellowship, but I'm not. It was part of a fellowship.
But you said it broke the rules, so how does it win if it breaks the rules?
Because at fellowship you're allowed to break the rules.
Oh God, it's fucking Animal Farm.
Oh, it is. It's ridiculous.
We're all equal, but some of us are a little bit more.
Oh, some of us are allowed to break the rules.
As long as you get to a certain level, there are no rules.
Yeah, no.
That's the great thing about the rules.
Yeah, no.
Seriously.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why you're just better off ignoring them.
Okay, you're a judge, right? So I'm going to now put you on the spot. Have you ever? I should have brought this prop out because you mentioned this when we were talking before about looking at a neg.
Ah, yeah.
And getting a loop.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah.
But you see, you would get a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we all need a loop back in the days of film? Because the original was so very, very small.
Tiny, yeah.
And we can't see with our natural eye the infinite detail that's in there. So you have to get a loop to bring it back to proportion. What do you think of judges who judge an artwork with a loop?
As in an actual print?
Yeah.
Oh, ridiculous.
A print on the wall, and you see a judge with a loop.
Yeah.
And then the print would be like that. It would be... That's fine, and then some fart with a loop walks down and gets a loop and goes, oh, it's a bit grainy, it's a bit noisy.
I have done it before. Not on something that size. I've probably the thing that pisses me off judging the worst is. Print quality is massive for me, and the amount of people that get it wrong is just unforgivable.
Define that from me and for other people watching.
When you've literally got a print that hasn't printed a bit of cyan, so you've got lines going down, and they enter it into a competition, and you think,
okay,
seriously,
that's an obvious one.
Colour casts. On skin tones, when they'll come back from a print company and they look green because they haven't colour corrected or they haven't soft copied. So they think it's okay on their screen and they haven't proofed it.
So it's manufacturing defect.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
But that is still their responsibility.
Oh, of course, yeah, okay.
And dust spots, come on.
Dust spots.
Dust spots. You've got a dust spot in the sky. I judged.
Oh, you mean on the sensor? You mean?
Yeah. Sensor spot. Sorry,
Really?
I had it the other day, and sorry to who if they're watching. I'm sure they won't be, but I really had a go at this person the other day. I didn't know whose print it was, but they'd gone to the bother of beautifully mounting it, beautifully printing it.
But can't see the obvious.
And there must have been about 20 dust spots in the sky. And I kind of held my head. And I know that is me because I will spot little things. But you've spent 20 quid in mounting this and entering it into a competition and you're not spotting the obvious.
How is that possible?
Right. Well, it amazed me because I must have seen it 4 or 5 times that evening.
Really? How is that possible?
No, and I don't know if my eyes are particularly kind of spotty because because what they also did, I had the print here and then they were projecting, so I could spot it on the print a mile off, and then I'd just go up to the print and say, it's there, or it's there. Some of them were massive. And you can see that. That's just quality control for me.
I find myself saying that a lot. Surely you can see that when I'm looking at images in all sorts of design contexts and stuff, and they've got massive, great big halos around everything.
Right.
And you go, how?
Yeah.
How did that get there? How did you do something to cause that to happen? Because that ain't a part of the camera.
Yeah. So it's in your post-processing.
How did you not see that? And also know that it shouldn't be there.
Or think that it's acceptable to be there. I see a load of people now send me work with some of the most atrocious filters on. This backlight crap that just... I can't... If you want something that's backlit, backlight it. Put the sun behind the subject, but some of them send it. And then... light just doesn't work like that. You know, and they've got all this flare, and it makes the skin.
But then you're not judging photography, are you? You're judging playing around with an image on a computer.
Because they haven't got it right in the first place, so they think if they can chuck a load of
adding graphical elements to a picture afterwards has got nothing to do with photography.
No.
What I suggested a long time ago, and only suggested it once because the look of horror on their faces was enough. And then I just knew that I needed not to talk anymore, and that means not turn up anymore, is that I have always seen, and have always said when I see competitions for this, is that you cannot make, I don't believe that you can make a photography competition based on an image that has not only been photographed but also edited on a computer. So it should be that there are two scores, just like figure skating in the Olympics, right? You've got technical ability and artistic impression. And there should be the raw file, because that's what you judge the photography on, because it is unedited. And then it would make even more important, or it would highlight even more the creativity in my world of what you do on a computer. Because you can't look at that image and judge just the photography, because I'm not looking at only the photography.
I don't either. I look at the emotion as well.
But the photography is one thing, and what happens to the image afterwards is something else. Yeah. And before digital, the amount of manipulation to the image in a darkroom, we all now know was
minute
tiny,
in comparison to what we can do now.
Because it was tiny and it was within the realms of gamma controlled film, it meant even when the photography, the transparency or the neg had gone through to a print, it was still in the realms of photography.
Yeah.
So you could judge it as photography. Now you can't. I don't believe you can, because you see stuff today and you go, A, that never existed in reality, and B, no camera could capture
one
that.
bit of it might have.
Yeah, and so it's unfair to say that should win a photography competition, because you're not judging photography.
No.
I think scores should be separated into your skills with a camera and then your skills with a computer, because they are two wildly different things.
But then there are also skills with seeing certain things as well.
Yeah, so, but that's in photography or before photography.
Yeah. So it's not you said camera. So yeah.
Well, when you've got the camera in your hand, that's when you're a photographer.
Yeah.
But you're like the guy who taught me, a guy who's sadly not with us anymore. But I've told the story so many times, but I'll tell you because this is our talk.
Marvelous.
He taught me photography, and I taught him Photoshop. I met him at a dinner party, and I was wearing an Adobe T-shirt because I just come from IPEX.
Yeah.
I just come from IPEX when they had in Birmingham NEC, where they had announced to the world in design, and we had yellow shirts on with the red Adobe logo, and I wore it to a dinner party on the way home via Banbury.
Yeah. And
I went to this dinner party, and there was this guy sitting there opposite me. Real academic looking dude. So and I've been invited to this thing, and last moment said, yeah, I'll come. And he went, oh, you work for Adobe? No, I'm just a consultant. I just present for them at trade shows. I've just come from Birmingham. Oh yeah, I know everything about Photoshop, he says to me.
Oh really?
And it's like, fuck, if there was one person on the planet that you don't want to say that to, So I didn't say anything. I said, yeah, really? I've just been, obviously, I was sick and tired of talking about Adobe and so I'm eating and everything. But seriously, within 15 minutes, we were blood brothers. I mean, we were best friends.
Yeah.
And then I said, yeah, this is where I come from. This is what I did. He was a maths professor type dude, and photography was his passion. And he did a master's degree in photography.
Oh my good God.
As just like a pastime for him, his hobby. He did a master's. I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
And when he died, he left it to me. I've got his master's degree, his thing.
Goodness.
And I want to recreate it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to recreate it because he did his master's degree in photographing people.
Yeah.
But what he noticed, which I very much agree with, is we are so judgmental. You know, I'd pass you in the street, and in half a second, I would check off a number of boxes which I think you fall into those categories. Do this though.
Oh, go on then. Right.
Now judge me. Judge me. Look.
Oh, actually,
you
look.
Judge me.
Well, I can't because I can't see your face.
No, you can. But
tattoos.
Judging someone's face is so simple, but you can tell so much by someone's hands.
Do you
so
think?
His master's degree was
all
he
hands.
did portraits. He did an analysis of people, but every single person has got their face covered by their hands.
Oh wow!
And so it's like this.
Oh goodness!
And he didn't put stupid eyes in here to make it look like their eyes were coming through the hands, like you know. But he just did this, and I looked at it, and my initial reaction was just like you. So, where's their face? I don't need to see their face.
Yeah.
It's so easy to jump to conclusions, but then when you look at how they do their nails, you know,
rings,
like rings, tattoos, or whatever, and actually what. Yeah, it's at home in one of my storage boxes. So if I can find it, I'll get it. But it's amazing. I wouldn't mind recreating that.
Yeah, that
sounds
sounds
just walking
cool.
around Utrecht and just finding people like builders,
interesting
artists,
hands.
whatever, and just just interesting people. But then just go, I want to take a portrait, but could you just do that for me, please?
Yeah, and I can imagine some old people if they've.
Well, it's your hands.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Really liked it.
Oh, interesting! Really interesting.
We've got more
concept.
to do.
Oh God, yeah.
What's the time?
25. Actually, I don't really know. My watch is all over
I'm
the
going
shop.
to check the time because we've got a table booked.
Excellent.
And so that means we are going to kind of make this work so it finishes at around 8:15.
Marvellous, because my tummy's rumbling. I hope you can't hear it.
Mine too. So let's just go through these, shall we?
Yeah, dun dun dun.
No. Okay.
Again, all in the eyes for me.
But they're really, really within themselves. You know, they're very calm.
Yeah. No, they were. It was almost, which is how I do a lot of my travel stuff. I respect people's space. I very much respect people's space, and I.
Is this with your one lens? Your one fixed lens?
No. I did that with the. I shoot with a relatively long lens. 7200 that one was. But it's.
Is that so you can keep a big distance so you're not imposing?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I'm in their space. It's quite intrusive anyway. So they know I'm there. And I kind of think that, you know, when you go up to these kids, quite often, if you go up with a camera, they will start doing this and start smiling. And I don't want that. I want them in their natural kind of surroundings. And it's almost like we're having a little moment together. So he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, and it's, you're all right.
And you're trying to capture him, not his pose.
No.
There's this documentary, Tim Hetherington. Have you
I know the name.
Tim Hetherington, he was this stunning war photographer and documentary photographer, and he died eventually because he went to so many front lines. And the name of the documentary is Which Way is the Front Line? Because he was just always wanting
there.
to be on the cutting edge. And there was this wonderful, wonderful segment in this documentary where he was taking portraits of children just like this in these really extreme areas. And he'd have a room and the lighting was right, and he'd have the seat, and he would want to get them, and he had, I don't know what these are called, but
plate
it's a
cameras.
It's a box camera, and he's looking down on it. And so he frames it, gets it just right, gets it focused. and then he just chats to them.
Yeah.
And waits and waits and waits and waits
Until he gets the right expression.
But the waiting happens while he's talking to them, and while this object is not in front of his face. Yeah. And that was the first time I realised that's how you get a really good portrait, when you're not behind this great big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the time I will be sat a little bit away from them and just kind of, you know, playing around. I'm not even looking, and as soon as I see it, I make sure my exposure is right, and it is then click, done. Yeah. It's finished. And
on the Fuji, from what I've seen of using it, and obviously I'm a complete novice, I still haven't really played with it in anger.
Yeah.
The metering, I didn't see a meter on the screen. Am I just using my eye looking at this digital overlay and I'm saying, yeah, that's the picture I want?
It is almost too easy.
Hell, seriously, really?
Yeah. It is, honestly.
Do I have control over metering, like I would on
you have,
on
obviously,
a normal SLR?
Obviously, you're...
No, metering, so different metering modes, so I can say centre weighting.
Yes, yeah. I don't know on the specific model you've got, but on my one...
Then you wouldn't, though, would you? You wouldn't need to if you're only judging it by what it looks. You don't even need metering, because you're just literally...
But you're metering... It is metering off where your focal point is, obviously. So if you are... Your single point...
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah?
No, it must be, yeah. Can you change that?
Yes.
Okay, you can.
Yeah,
okay.
you can.
We're going to get... We're just not going to spend 50 minutes on each one.
No. Just flick on through.
The thing I want to go on here, the thing I've noticed here is this, the hair.
Yeah, no, they are very proud people, and like I said to you before, it was almost astonishing, kind of. I mean, I stank when I came back from Tanzania. It was just, I didn't have a washing machine for 4 months. We basically washed our clothes in buckets and things like this. But and they're used to kind of living like this, and were immaculate the whole time. Their houses were spotless.
It's certainly you that doesn't know how to cope in those conditions.
Oh God, yeah. Oh no, the rest of us white people didn't either. But it was, I mean, I threw out half of my clothes when I got home. They were just falling apart. It was ridiculous. But they are just so proud, and everything's so colourful. You can't see it in this, obviously. But
yeah, because you turned it into a black and white. Did you turn it into a black and white, or did
on
you
purpose?
Shoot it?
No, I did. I turned it into a black and white. I like this image because he's actually taken a photograph of me. I don't know if you can see him in the corner. Yeah. And I only spotted that when I got home. But he was so proud that he's got this picture of the white person, taking a picture of him. And it was incredible, actually, that place. That place is Tango. It's great. And Maasai camp. And they just, it was almost like...
Which camp?
A Maasai camp.
Right.
So we stayed there for about 4 days. Great place. So with the guys who we go with do a trek, and they did a stop there for...
Okay, now there's you did watch. You actually met Shark today, right?
Yes.
Right, so Shark has... And he said he'd be watching. So Shark, if you're watching this, can you just say, yeah, I'm watching? Because...
if not, you liar. I'll come and get you later.
Yeah. Shark is the only person that I've made this statement to and said, yeah, but I can tell which camera an image comes from.
Okay, go on then.
And he says he can do it by looking at the quality of the bokeh.
You'd probably get this one right, actually.
So is the quality of bokeh in an image something that you even concern yourself with when you are looking at a camera to use?
Yeah.
Because from what he was telling me, there's a huge difference between Nikon and Canon.
I don't know the difference between Nikon and Canon.
Basically what it is, I know because I have a Canon that the bokeh is incredibly smooth. So if you have reflections of lights or something coming in, they will be circles. Yeah. And on a Nikon, they'll be hard-edged. Yeah. And this is the Fuji, right? Nope. It isn't. Oh, brilliant. So we don't know what it is.
I know what it is.
I love it. I love it. So Shark, okay, this is for you then, okay? So don't tell me what it is. I don't want to know what it is. Okay. So Shark, if one day you ever watch this and I want you to tell me what camera took that? I already know because you've already. I don't know if he.
You don't know
You did tell people before.
But which lens actually
And
is?
you see, from what he was saying, they're all the same.
No.
The lenses all create the same bokeh.
No.
They don't.
No, not in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
A longer lens will produce a different bokeh to a shorter lens.
Okay.
And obviously, it always also depends on distance of subject to background. And
It's how angled, how resolution.
but I think it's more to do with the lens. I might be completely wrong, but
Yes,
I always
is.
thought it was more to do with the lens rather than the actual camera.
Right. Yeah.
So in my mind, it was the longer lens gives you. Well,
Okay.
this is the school. You may well not be able to see. Actually, there's a little girl in that bottom right corner. And this was where we first stayed, in our very first village, so it brings back nice memories for me because that's where we built the kitchen, and they were an amazing bunch of kids. Always happy and just, and living, we actually camped when we built their kitchen. We didn't stay in houses, we camped in their back garden effectively. And so they would walk past us every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning going to school. We'd coming out the tents, but they was always smiling, and they never seemed to have a care. And I'm sure they probably did, but they were just always so
You're
joyous.
always going to do this now, aren't you?
What's that?
This. You're always going to have this as a part of your life.
Oh
Aren't you?
God, I hope so. I
All
hope
the time
so.
You're able.
Yeah, no, I'd love to, because for me it just. I think we get so kind of. I know I do. I get so fed up with the world we live in this kind of state, and when I go to these kinds of countries, I just think, my God, if only people in our countries.
Do you find that when you come back from, like you just said, that you get a bit jaded just doing, I call it rat on the wheel. No matter how wonderfully brilliant our lives might seem to be to other people, we're still doing the same monotonous thing every single day, and eventually you get jaded.
I tell you, I'm picking up dirty pants off the floor.
You need to come out of it, and you need to go and do this, and then when you come back, you're not as jaded anymore with what you do for a living, are you?
No,
You're refreshed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I'm looking forward to the next thing that I'm going to be doing, and I've had a funny year this year, so I haven't kind of made plans for next year, so I'm a bit behind, which is a bit annoying, really, for me.
It now echoes this thing that you say every few years. When I think back now, I've done the same too, because I've had a really privileged, I would say, no one handed it to me, okay, so I worked for it, but I was incredibly lucky, and I'd say incredibly fortunate to have had the time I've had. But I remember when, I'm on an aeroplane every day, going to an event every day, because it was it's the job to be a presenter. It's not, I'm a photographer and I present once a month. It's every day, including weekends.
I don't think I could do that.
And then you're the centre of attention most of the time. And then you're jaded with it, and then you're uninspired with it, and then I go, fuck it, I'm not doing that anymore. No. And then what I would then go and do is, I found myself once with a friend who had a double glazing company in Banbury in Oxfordshire.
Right.
I then went and worked for him at weekends.
Just to do something a bit
Just to do something. Because I went to work at 16, I did the same thing all the time. So I missed out on so many other things. So I just now, and I've now recognised that all it is I sometimes you get punch drunk on what you do, so you're not as connected to it maybe, and then you need to have it shaken again, and you have to reset.
And a lot of the time we have to make that reset ourselves, because nobody else is going to go, do you know what, you're a little bit bored right now. Yeah. But unfortunately, a lot of people in our industry just will plod along and reach 60, retire and go, oh, where did my career go? I haven't really challenged myself in this at all. And so actually their work then tends to decline until really they're just crap and can't keep up, and then they. But I think the ones that.
That's the dilemma of being a creative, though, isn't it? When your creativity has got to pay your mortgage, then it's a grey area, because what are you feeding? Are you feeding your creative edge, or are you feeding your mortgage? Are you feeding your bank account? And you've got to do both. Right? You've got to do both.
I think there is a space out there for both. If you do the thing that you love, I think then it does tend to pay your mortgage. I'm very fortunate that I've managed to. I've only done this in the last 3.5, 4 years, so
the going away, yeah.
It's the time when
the refreshing of just doing something different for a while. And like I used to just do it at weekends, and you know, and I used to love it. It was a great big Lego set. I mean, off the lorry comes all these big boxes, and it's got like the patio or the conservatory. And you just sit and Lego it together. And then you've got one day, and then when you leave, all the windows have been changed, and a patio's up at the end of the weekend, and you just go, I built that. I didn't make the components, but I actually put it together. Yeah. And then I go, you know what? My hands are all cut, and so I go, I love my job. I love my job. That's what you need, a glazer to do your project with. Well, she was the seamstress in the same village. But again, I love that she just looked around at one point, and I love eye connection with people in my portraits. I think it's very important. I don't. How do you get eye connection with her if you've got a camera in front of your face? I tend not to have it in front of my face. So what you do is you get it ready. I will go like that, and then you come and then you hold it in situ. And I think it's really important to have that, because ultimately I'm just intrigued, because you know that most people's experience of a photographer is going to be this person with their face obscured by a camera. No. A lot of my pictures come out wonky because of it, though. But then that's because I can't kind of hold it. But is that not? But you then, is that why you said I really like the live view, because you can hold it here and have it. And you can flip up that back screen as well, which really does help. So in fact, you can. And I also, the one that I've got. I don't know if you've got a flip screen. No. Also, I've got leveler in mine now, so spirit level, the green line, which so you can get it all. Is really helpful, especially if you're going like this the whole time. Got it. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. But they're so kind of enthralled in what they're doing. They don't care what I'm doing, which a lot of the time is I like. They were an amazing. And the nice thing for me to see here, we went out cow herding. The next morning we stayed with them, and this guy with, you know, his big, beautiful Maasai robe, big stick, and his whip to get them, and mobile phone in hand, which just was bizarre. Did you get a picture of that? I did actually. I've not got it here, but the light there was amazing. Just like buy it. Yeah. You know, Oh, and that was literally just around the corner from where I lived. You know, when you kind of look back and you think, God. My house used to be just round there, and in fact we did this walk pretty much every day to go and buy a Diet Coke or a Tangawizi, which is a ginger beer, and you know it was just, the light was incredible, and everybody's just so beautiful there. That is wonderful. Good. How much did you crop that? Again, not. I don't think I cropped that at all. I think I pretty much may have done the old bad thing of I've put her somewhere different. Now I actually think I've taken a tree from another picture because it framed her better. Because I think I'd cropped the left-hand side, and so I've kind of framed her. Okay. But that's probably the most I would ever do to an image. In fact, I probably wouldn't even do that now. I just kind of say it is as it is, but at the time. See, my religion for myself, which I've done forever, is it's square or 16:9. Yeah. I don't have the ability now. I just wouldn't even have the ability to have an off proportion. It's either 16:9, because I hate slideshows when you've got the panels down the side. Yeah. I hate that. And I think that's a change I made in Nepal, actually. I pretty much, it is as it is. But nearly everything I do, it's only when I know it is going to be displayed on a computer screen I make it 16:9. Right. But if it's like just pure photographic, every single thing I do is square. Yeah. Or panoramic for me. Thank you. Or the other one, what's the other one? The one when you see you've got 16:9, which is this kind of ratio of like HD, And then when you go to the cinema, you get the longer one.
Oh,
I can't
good.
remember the proportions. It's 21.
21:6.
I can't remember.
No.
There's another ratio, and so I try and stick to these standard ratios.
Right.
And that would fall very close to the other one, because that's how a film is going to look.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Is that just one, or is that many images
No,
to put
that
together?
is just one. And I was on a bus. We used to have to do some pretty epic bus journeys to do this trip. I think it was an 8-hour bus journey on a seat like this. So your arse is killing you by the time you get back. And God, some of the stories you can tell from a bus in Tanzania. They were interesting times, but another Maasai boy. You can click through these a bit faster if you want.
We've got 10 minutes.
Right. Clickety-click then.
Clickety-click.
Because we haven't even reached Nepal again. The Tanzanians have those amazing eyes. They're just stunning.
So would you recommend this to others doing this?
I would. You might not be able to cope with it. We've seen that one already. Yeah.
That was in there twice.
Yeah.
But
it's the best thing.
Of it is the personal journey, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the evolution.
Yeah. And that was the most important bit for me, I think. The images I love, because I look back and for me, I remember the names and the places I was when I took them. But for me, it was, I mean, I've made some amazing friends as well. Absolutely, you know, people that have got me through shit. I think that's the same boy as before, but just, God, he can pose. Can't he? Just lovely.
And that's unscripted by you? There's no art direction from you?
No. He just, they were actually, at this point, they were slaughtering a goat for us, because we'd just arrived in camp.
Thank you.
Well, when one of the volunteers decided to eat raw liver straight out of the goat, our poor medic was like, please don't.
Yeah. Please try not to do that.
But of course, she was 19 and it was a really cool thing to do.
Yeah,
but then they gave us goat gut stew for our tea. I can't recommend it.
I would have passed on that.
Yeah, I think I just went for the plain cabbage that evening.
That would be perfect.
No. But these are some of the views we woke up to. I mean, the atmosphere, you've got fires going and the sun's coming up. It was, you know, 5:30, 6 in the morning and everybody's up and busy because they've got to get to work. And now we're starting in Nepal. So I did Nepal pretty much the same time of year after. Yeah, just did another community shot. And which is what the charity pretty much want me to get, apart from just the project stuff. They just want because they get funding from people who want to know what these communities are like. Because they're so very, very different from what we know.
I'm definitely going to look into it. When I spoke to you when we was at the bar on that evening, just before I
definitely going to do it.
The other dimension.
Which dimension was that then?
It was the one few come back from, I think. Oh my God. Honestly, there's drunk, there's shit-faced.
No, and then
there's a planet
dancing.
far away. And me, A, dancing is a miracle anyway. But B, did you remember watching me dancing with that speaker on my head when the DJ went and then they were playing that record on that little Bluetooth speaker and I was dancing?
No, I do thankfully have recollection of that.
So, that was just insanity.
Are there pictures?
No. Well, there are in my mind.
Marvellous.
And even though I was out of my... Oh, God, seriously. Seriously. And the thing the next
We're going
morning,
dancing tonight then?
It was a slow burn. The hangover was a slow burn. Because I woke up and I went...
Did you feel okay?
And you wake up and you open your eyes and you go, I'm scared.
I know. And then you think, I've got away with it. I've got away with it.
I go, oh my God. That's not possible to have drunk vodka in the first time in my life to those quantities. I'd never drunk vodka in my life before.
Goodness
And,
gracious. What a night to choose to do it.
But it came in throughout the day, and I was telling people, they were going, "You look okay," and then by the afternoon, it's like, "Please go to sleep, go and sleep."
It's when your body starts sweating.
Now, I'm going to look into this now that you said that you can do them for a slightly smaller amount of time.
During the summer months, you can do them for shorter. Because
do what, sorry?
During the summer months, you can do these projects shorter.
Yeah.
I tend to like going because it's my quietest time, January to March, January to April. Because I do everything on location. Nobody wants to go out when it's been stinking horrible weather in the UK. So I go and spend somewhere nice and hot with some pretty cool people. But, yeah, this is Nepal. That place is incredible if you ever get to go there. That's Pashupatinath Temple, which is a World Heritage Site. It's where they burn the bodies. The burials. It's a really amazing place to go. Really, really amazing place to go. Very, very, very spiritual. And when I go, I think that's where I fancy going. Brush me into the old river. I know. Do get a chance.
So, I think we're going to have to go and eat.
Marvellous. Lovely, thank you very much.
It's been lovely to have you
Excellent.
here. And what I like about it is that it was only a few months ago when I was conceiving of this and thinking, I've been wanting to do this for so many years. And then I remember telling people there the year before in Cuba that I would be doing it, and I never got to do it the last year. And then, so I was desperate to get this in place. So it's really cool to have kind of met somebody who wanted to come over and do it, and then you did it. Man. It's cool. It's cool.
If I say I'm going to do stuff, I do it.
But thank you.
No, you're more than welcome. No, thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely and an amazing studio.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, it's getting there slowly, but it's cool. It's cool.
It's cool.
So look, we're going to go off and eat. Thank you for anybody watching, and thanks for your time, and see you next week.
Bye. Cool. Done.
Now, what button do I press? I think I'm going to press
we're still